Good morning, YouTube. This is day two of my off-grid experience. Just woke up not too long ago. It's about 10:30 or 11 o'clock in the a.m. Sun's up, birds chirping, things are happening. TV still on. About to see the current state of affairs. I finally turned that fan off. It got way too cold. Not sure how everybody else feels, but when the temperature is somewhere around 85 degrees and it's circulating there, it tends to cool the room off pretty quickly. Um, and basically, me wearing a shirt, I was sneezing last night. It was pretty cool, so I turned the fan off, but I left the TV on. Anyway, I'm gonna turn the lights on, let you see pretty much how everything is. I left my outdoor light on last night, also just so that I could see outside if someone knocked on the door or something. This bedroom light was left on. I usually leave it on as one of the ones. I ended up sleeping in the chair out here with the TV. So it's a little dark. It's because there's not a lot of sunlight coming in. I mean, we got two windows, but the sunlight basically just illuminates the floor. Let's see. It looks like I got it down to 79% with the TV running all throughout the night. Let's see. Right now, because the sun's recharging, we're at 13 volts, pulling about 2 amps. So basically, the sun's not fully up, and we're only losing about. Oh, actually, I'm sorry. We're charging. It's way too early for me. We're charging. We're at 2.7 amps charging with the load. So pretty much once I turn everything off, let's see where we're at on the current amp hour. I burned up 100 amp hours last night. Wow, one night, 100 amp hours. Um, that's a lot of energy. Good thing I have something like this to read my battery bank and tell me where I'm at. Now, the cool thing is my MPPT type charge controller actually does tell me how many amp hours I've brought in so far. I brought in 48 amp hours. If you remember, yesterday we were reading only at 100. The only reason that my amp hours were so low, if you guys are concerned, is because as you have a charge controller that refills batteries, it tapers off as the batteries are getting full. And it doesn't want to. I mean, it has nowhere for the energy to go. So basically, it starts to taper off the amps that it's got going into it. So I'm probably going to receive in somewhere, being that I'm already at 48 amp hours and it's so early. I'm probably going to receive in somewhere around 200 amp hours to refill the bank and also get the batteries to float. Pulling in only about 300. I'm sorry. Now it's got 400. Now it's at 500. Huh. That's weird. I don't know if you guys can see that. This thing's, now I'm at 430, 440. This thing's jumping so often. I'm at 400. I guess when I turned the TV off, it started to adjust to compensate for charging the batteries. Anyway, we're jumping around somewhere between 300 and 500 watts. So it's sweeping the spectrum right now to find the best way of charging the batteries. If you sat here for about 5 minutes, you could look at the capacity look at the amount of energy that's been used. It should start to go backwards. We're at 93.8 amps with about, I don't know, 30 amps coming in. That should start to drop pretty quickly. We're already dropping at a tenth of an amp, so probably every 30 seconds or so we're going to lose a tenth. So within about 3 hours of charge, maybe, I figure we should be somewhere near 100% of getting all of our energy back with hardly a load. With a load, it'd probably take a little longer. In most applications, wow, we're all the way down to 200 watts now. I'm gonna have to look outside. It looks like it's shading a little bit. That's most likely what's causing the problem. Let's take a step outside. I haven't been out there today yet to see what the situation is. Actually, I also want to check one other thing. Let's look at this wind turbine and see if we got any surge on that. Hold on. That's weird. Okay. Basically, overnight this thing spun up and got above it, and it was drained below the 5 volts. or slowly the supercapacitor was losing its charge, or the capacitor, it was supercapacitor technically. Anyway, basically it lost its charge over throughout the night when it had no wind. I didn't hear very much wind yesterday, so it's possible that it just spun out, or it didn't spin out. Beautiful day out here. It's kind of cloudy. Sun's out. A little bit of cloud cover. I can see where basically it jumps from 200 watts to 500 watts in clear daylight. It's just basically, now the sun's coming out a little bit more. Not sure if you can recognize it, but anyway, here's my little 12-volt wind turbine that I put up. It's made by Eagle. I have battery connectors on there right now and a diode to basically charge this supercapacitor. It's a little 2 farad, little stereo capacitor. I'm running sprinkler wire, which is the most energy efficient and most cost saving way of wiring this type of connection. What the hell was that? There was something in that thing. I don't know what it was. Looked like a big lizard or a squirrel, but it scared the mess out of me. Anyway, sprinkler wire tends to be the best way of wiring up solar panels and wind turbines for me, because you got to think about it. Sprinkler wire is already gauged for low voltage, so it's going to have the highest conductivity. Also, it has like 8 different wires in there that are going to transport the energy to each individual sprinkler. They're already UV coated. They're very inexpensive. You bury it, and you can basically, what I'm doing is I'm running one wire for positive and negative. When you have a situation where it's not very many amps, you can actually use one wire and just split it up in half and half, and use the center as a ground wire if you need to for whatever electrical device you have. So there's, like, for instance, on mine I have 7 wires in there. I have 3 for the red, 3 for the black, and I'll use the white as a ground to connect to the solar panels, and it'll go. Of course, the cable is usually buried, but this is an experiment, so mine's above ground right now. I'm afraid to walk that way. Something is in that scares me. Anyway, like I said, this is the the coverage that I get. The sun's right about here, and by about 3 o'clock noon, I actually won't have direct sunlight. I'll be covered by these trees. So that's why I say, I have to have more solar panels to refill my bank, because I need to fill it up faster. But if you chose a different location to put all these solar panels, like if you're in a situation where you're on the run, or if you're having to move quickly, you would choose a place with a little more sun, maybe even a higher ground, but you would always face south. Just want to show you, I have panels up there. 1, 2, 3, 4 2 man-made, and then I have 6 purchased panels up there. Yeah, it's getting pretty warm out here. It's time for me to figure a way of making breakfast, which is probably going to be green beans and corn. I also have a little pasture over here. This would have probably been the best location over here to put the solar panels if I were to build like a pole mounted type thing. This would be the best location to put it. But being that I live in the country, I have literally a lot of options. But I figured, being that these trees are as tall as they are, the best thing to do is to have a little cloud coverage, or not cloud coverage, but at least some height, so that I wouldn't have as much tree coverage over it. And you can see the old power wire that went there through the transformer that blew up a long time ago. Anyway, going into the house. Back into the house. Was only out there for a few short minutes. Got a pretty good tan, I'm sure. The sun was beaming. And like expected, we're somewhere around 490 watts now. Now that we're back in, I'm charging at about 35 amps. Bringing in about 27 volts at 19.9 amps. To turn that into 14.4 volts at 34 amps. So, I'm getting a pretty good charge out of these batteries. A real good charge. Let's see. I'm going to put this 9-volt battery back on its charger and figure out what the voltage is on the other one. Have more than one battery ready to go at all times. So, now my charge controller doesn't want to work for my 9 volts. That's weird. Anyway, bringing it back, as you can see, we've dropped about 4 more amps in that time that we were outside, which was only a brief minute or two. You know, walking around, it's crazy. This thing's gonna have it flowing back to 100% pretty quickly. You can see the desulfator's already turned on. On the smaller bank, we're at 12.8 amps. I'm sorry, 12.8 volts, which actually causes me to think my theory last night was wrong. I said, or stated last night, that because they're both in a bus, that most likely, because the negative is hooked up to the battery end of the bank down here, I would think that the electricity would feed back and actually start to charge the batteries at the bottom, but apparently it is not. And I think I know why. 13.4 volts. The reason that I'm thinking that that doesn't work is because basically it's like a switch. You need to have the positive and negative hooked up, even though it's got a break basically inside of the batteries that prevents it from allowing the electricity the current to flow through it. So basically I'm charging one bank at a time depending on which one's on. Now the main reason that one bank is probably staying fully charged is because it's hardly used except for DC loads. So, you know, I don't typically turn on both power supplies because, like I said, when you have both of them hooked up to each other in any application, you're going to always have an issue where the smaller batteries are not going to put out as much as the bigger batteries, and you know, it's going to cause the voltage to shoot down a lot quicker. Not sure if that has a way of balancing itself out, but I know that for a fact that I don't want to end up having my batteries believe that the other batteries are a load because of the fact that they're not charging, or I'm sorry, they're not putting out as much, and their voltage goes out lower or goes down lower. As you can tell, it's been too early for me. I'm real sleepy. I'm about to brush my teeth, get ready for today. We have $100 of budget to play with, so make a little checklist of what I'm gonna need, and I'm gonna put on video what I will need over this next week to survive. We'll go and break down how much food we have, see how long it's gonna last us, because you know, obviously going to McDonald's isn't an option, and in a situation where this was like a apocalypse, this would not last very long at all. Makes me wish I had a garden, which I tried to start, as you can see. Makes me wish I had a garden to kind of sustain myself in this type of situation. But again, in a situation where you're on the run and you're having to move quick, how long would this last you? And then from there, could you get started on a longer time span? It actually looks like I'm eating ravioli this morning. But anyway, putting you on pause. Hey, as you guys can see, I'm watching TV again, and I was just back here making my little checklist, and I noticed something that a lot of people don't put up. With about 400 watts coming in, which is clouded in a way, with about 410 watts, 30 amps roughly, we're putting in to the battery bank about 14 amps with a load. Basically, as the sun comes out more, you'll see that the voltage goes up and also the amperage goes up. So we're going somewhere around 15.4. So obviously, when you're considering your battery bank or your solar panel design, you need to think about what you're going to have running at all times throughout the day and double it basically, so that you have the ability to run those devices and easily charge. So for instance, I'm running my TV right now, but I'm also using 17 amps to charge my batteries from where they were last night. If you remember, for every hour I was pulling about 14-15 amps. Well, I'm bringing in 17.5 during the day while running the same devices. When I turn this TV off, I should be pulling somewhere near 25 amps maybe, because the TV is only pulling so much. But let's see it climb. And again, this is only at 400 watts. The sun and the shading is going to determine how much energy I'm getting at one time. But, you know, assuming I'm outside hunting for some reason, or I'm outside of the house and I turn off my appliances and I'm away, I could pretty much make up for any electricity I used in the hour before that real quickly. So if I'm pulling 5 amps or 10 amps on something, you know, you want to gauge your solar bank to be, or your solar panels to be big enough to recharge your batteries quickly. And in my situation where shading is a big issue, you want to make sure it can take place within the 3 hour, 4 hour time span to completely charge your battery bank. If at 50% at that night, that it can completely fill it up in 3 to 4 hours, which means you're going to have to do a lot of math and calculating, but it's very important for the health of your batteries and also for the practicality of this actually being a replacement electrical grid for you in any off-grid situation. Again, I only have 10, 11, 12 panels on the roof right now in all. And I also have a 85 watt panel back here that's not even out. The main reason it's not up is because I'm probably going to get another 85 watt, put it in series with it, and then throw it on the roof and get an additional 170 watts that can help with charging. Of that, I'm probably going to use about 70%, but either way, you know, 100 extra watts easy for charging throughout the morning. So far I'm happy, very happy. I'm pulling in, I just read the meter, I'm at about 60 amp hours, and it's only been, the sun probably comes up way earlier than I do, but you know, the sun doesn't go over the house until about 3 o'clock. So we have about 5 more hours of sunlight in between shade and, you know, if the occasional wind gust comes through and knocks, I don't know, not knock a tree down, but, you know, provides a little bit of cloud coverage. I have enough power that I'm going to be at 100% by 3 o'clock, but probably by 2. And that's the most necessary component about having an electrical grid. I'm not very strong on, you know, make sure I can eat and food, you know, have food and replace that, but I'm pretty damn good about making sure I have electrical needs covered. Wow, excited about that.